Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Before we get started, are you thinking of creating a podcast or are you a podcast host already? As a podcast strategist, I can help you to launch or relaunch a purposeful and profitable podcast, which will inspire, entertain, and educate a global audience. Simply book in a one-to-one call with me right now via the Calendly link in the show notes, and together we'll focus on the purpose of your podcast. Today on Focus on Why, I am joined by Jenna Dominique. Jenna, welcome.
Hello, lovely to be here.
And how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, really good, actually. The sun is shining today. I feel like today was like the first sprinkles of spring coming. So I'm loving life at the moment. It's very nice.
Amazing. Doesn't it make a difference on the mood?
Oh, it really does. It's bonkers, really, when you just look outside and it just depends on what you see, that your heart can just lift sometimes. I don't mind a rainy day now and again, but it does make a big difference. How are you, Amy?
Yeah, good. Thank you. I literally feel when I have the sun on me that my battery level is being topped up. It's a very, very connecting thing, the sunshine. So all good. So what is it that you're focusing on at the moment?
Oh, my goodness. There's quite a lot that I'm focusing on at the moment. However, there's one big thing. So I'm a mum, 3 months into motherhood, which is...
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a whirlwind, as every parent will know. So that's a big focus of me at the moment. It's all very new. It's very exciting. It's exhausting. You feel all the emotions, but I am focusing on lots of other things at the same time. So I feel like I've got a bit of a juggle happening, which I anticipated, but I think until you have a little bundle of joy and you don't quite know how that juggle's going to work and what that looks like. But yeah, it's really exciting. There's a new side hustle business that I've started with my husband recently, which is a big focus at the moment. That's all around retreats and adventure and trying to keep my own business ticking along nicely while I'm in this new chapter of life. So there's quite a lot happening at the moment. And I think I'd love to be able to say there's one thing I'm focusing on, which obviously is my child, of course. But there's lots of different things that I'm focusing on. And I do like it that way, but it's hard to pin down sort of, that one thing. There's lots of things going on, but it's all very positive, I would say.
It sounds amazing. And the exciting, the exhausting, you said you were feeling all the emotions. Any emotions that you haven't felt before, but that you now have?
Oh, what a question. I'd say probably, I don't think I've been this exhausted. I've experienced burnout before. This is a different type of exhaustion, I think, because I think I can handle it. I feel like I'm handling it well because you know that you're looking after this tiny human and there's something so amazing about that. And I'm not a morning person normally. I love my sleep. I'd be one of those people that my optimum is 10 hours. Like 8 is minimum. 10 is like that's great. That's obviously gone completely out the window the last few months. But I think the emotion of I can handle this and I've got this excitement to look forward to when I do wake up, even though I am exhausted, is probably something that I haven't necessarily had before because it's not just down to me. It's, I've got something else to look after and I'm responsible for. So that's probably the biggest thing. It feels like it's manageable, but it is tough. It is tough.
Do you think it's unconditional love?
My immediate reaction to that is yes. Immediately in my mind, I was like, yeah, it is. And I don't think, and everyone says this, all my friends that have got babies will say, you just don't know the feeling. You can't describe that feeling until you're in it. And it is so true. Yeah. And I think the early weeks, I mean, my goodness, I felt like I've been spat out in a washing machine 10 times over every day. And the emotions pour out because you have hormones all over the place and all of that. So that was slightly different. But now we're sort of into a bit of a rhythm. 100%. It is unconditional love. And it's not a term that I think I've ever used before, really.
Love that. And it is interesting, the hormones, because with the whole don't know what's going on, the body's changing, it just shows you what's going on a day-to-day basis that we don't take notice of. And but with this huge big shift in our body giving birth to a child, we then actually see just how impactful all these different parts of how we're constructed are there for all the different purposes.
100%. And it's you're almost on this high alert that you just recognize everything, and you see everything almost in a different lens, because like I'm now, not I'm always into health and well-being. I think that's so important, but even more so now that I need to be fit and healthy to be able to be a good mum and be able to get up and do this and fight that sleep deprivation. Who needs it? And all of that. And I think there's just something, I don't know, with this shift, and I agree with what you said, that they've always been there. The hormones, the emotions are always there. I just don't think I've necessarily noticed them as much as I have these last few months. And that importance of really making sure you're tuning into what's happening, what's going on. Give yourself a break when you're having a bad day or things aren't going how you want to. That's something I've definitely experienced. I'm trying to be a bit easier on myself because I am a little bit of a control freak and a perfectionist, Amy. Working on that, but that's definitely something that's shone a different light on what's been happening these last few months. It's just, yeah, it's a whirlwind, amazing whirlwind, but a whirlwind even so.
Well, there's nothing like becoming a mother to help you let go of that perfection.
So true. Oh my goodness, because so many people who've worked with me before, have kind of know me quite well, they'll describe me as a control freak. Like, Jenna, what are you going to do? Like, you can't control this next part of your life. You have no idea what this baby's going to be like and what it's going to be, what's going to happen. And then me being me, it's like, yeah, I know, I understand that, I get that, but it's true, like, you just don't. And I've had to let go of so much of that, which has been quite refreshing, I must say. It's been quite a weight lifted. That, do you know what, it's not that there's a reason why I'm now not in control of stuff, but there's almost that I just need to accept that what will be will be. I will make plans still, but I've learned to make plans knowing that those plans probably won't go to plan. And once you accept that, that's where I'm cool, calm, and collected. I think in the early days when we started to go out and we wanted to do some things, that I struggled with that. I was like, but we had a plan. We was going to leave at 10:30. It's now 12 o'clock and we still haven't left the house. What's going on? And that's just not me. But yeah, that letting go feeling has actually been quite refreshing.
Well, they do say that our children can be the greatest teachers. So already the learnings are coming in thick and fast, it would seem.
100%. I feel like I'm back to the classroom, learning something, a whole new language that I never knew, in a really nice way. And I think that's, I love new things and novelty. And I not that I want to sort of put this value on my child or things like that, but I think it's brought this whole new perspective and this new chapter that I need to learn and navigate. But because I love that, and I love this, I'm entering the unknown. That for me is really exciting. I love unknown stuff. I love going to new places. I love, experiencing different things. So this for me it's a welcome change. It's a tough one. It's a challenging journey, but we're on it. We're 3 months in. Ask me again in a few months and my answers might be different.
Oh, absolutely. So this new lens, this different lens, a new chapter, entering into the unknown. You spoke about the juggle, the new side hustle, and that you are doing lots of things. What is it that is tying them all together, if anything?
Yeah. What's the thread? I would say, so I always refer back to my values. I did a lot of work around values sort of at different times in my life, but the last few years especially. So freedom, adventure, and novelty are three things. I always say I'm a fan. Freedom, adventure, novelty. It makes me remember them. So that for me is a really big thing. I'd say the adventure piece is what's tying everything together. And massive cliche, life's an adventure. It 100% is. There was probably the last 10 years of my life, I've traveled more than I ever have. I've tried to experience more than I can possibly experience. I want to sort of soak up as much as possible. And this new chapter is a new adventure. I'm seeing it as this new adventure. It's obviously lifelong, it's permanent, that I'm a mum now, and that identity shift has been really interesting. But I'd say that thread is adventure, like tangibly, because of DAT Adventures, this new business that we've started, that is literally about giving people an adventure. It's about, running these unique retreats. We call it the Ambitious Adventurer Retreat. So it's for ambitious individuals who want an adventure, they want a physical challenge, but we support them with their personal and professional development. Like that, for me, it's me, myself, and my husband are trying to almost pour our sort of adventurous side and our expertise into this baby and these retreats to hopefully unlock some of the stuff that we feel like we've unlocked with our values and our adventures over the last sort of 10 years or so. So that's probably the thread. Baby will be coming on those adventures with us, and hopefully might have the travel bug there as well. The business has been an adventure since I started it. So for that's my business. I did a rebrand last year. That's First Class Comms. It's very much about pitch and communication coaching. And I love that. And there is a lot happening. I think when I say all of that, and the fact that I'm still quite a new mum, I do get a lot of, I'd say, raised eyebrows in a not in a negative way, but just, wow, you're doing a lot. That's a lot to take on, and you're juggling a lot. But at the same time, those that know me quite well almost, have turned around and said, well, of course you are. Of course you've launched a business when you've had a baby. Of course you've carried on, seeing your clients and whatnot, because that's me. That I don't think they expected any less, but it feels like it's the right route for me. It's just navigating that juggle, which I knew would be tough. It's just trying to make sure I feel like I'm giving enough to each of these areas of my life, which when you are juggling a lot of things, sometimes you can't give 100% to everything. So you've got to let go, that term again, let go of some stuff. If it's 70% good enough, then great. Don't aim for 100% because you're just going to go a little bit mad with it. So yeah, in summary, I'd say adventure is what's keeping all those things threaded. I think that was the original question, Amy.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Often what we desire, or also what we lack, is what we focus on. So the need for what you want individually yourself with your husband is also what you're providing for others.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And that's why these retreats and this new business feels exciting. It doesn't really feel like work. Yes, we want to get bums on the seats and we want to make it a success, but it's so early doors. I think because we believe in it and it's something we've thought about for quite a while. We dabbled with a different sort of similar type of business, but then it was COVID and the rest is history. So we picked it back up over the last sort of 6 months. And yeah, there's a lot of that in my work, I would say, that I was trying, people have asked me before, what's your motivation and what's your purpose, exactly why we're sort of talking about this. And for me, there's definitely something around giving back and trying to support others or provide something that is going to be beneficial and valuable. I wouldn't say I've nailed down exactly what that purpose thing is for me. I think I've had a lifelong trying to find it, and I'm still on my way, but it's trying to find things that are fulfilling. And that is about working with other people. It's always working with other people, whether that's hosting an event and having an audience that I'm trying to have a great time or get the most out of this event, or whether I'm helping someone on their pitching and their communication and making them feel a bit more confident, then yeah, there's definitely something around giving back to an extent, but also just trying to add value, I think, is how I perceive what I do.
And you mentioned earlier the exhaustion that you're currently exposed to because of having a new baby, and it's different to the burnout that you'd experienced before. What are you doing to protect yourself from burnout with all of the juggle?
Probably not enough at the moment. I think I'm still navigating what that looks like. I've spoken to my husband and we've been quite regimented with our diaries that, for me, exercise is really key. Oh my goodness, I've missed that so much, probably since I was about 6 months pregnant. Haven't done sort of half as much as I'd like to, understandably. And again, that was that let go. Physically, I can only work within my limits and what I can do. And obviously in those early stages of motherhood, it's tough to get that in. So now that's a big thing for me that I'm putting, twice a week in the calendar. I just need this time to go for my run or do my yoga or like have that exercise, because that's what I've missed. And it's so important that it has to go in our shared calendar, that this is Jenna's workout time. Yes, it might change in terms of the hours and whatnot, depending on how baby is, but that's the goal. So that's only been recently, the last couple of weeks. Already that's making a big difference because I know that I'm going to get that headspace. And I think that is really key. I've spoken to other mums that were on sort of the bump and baby group, and you go to those things, and that well-being, you do forget that in those early stages, I would say, of motherhood, because you're just in this whirlwind and you just don't really know what you're doing. You don't know your left arm from your right arm. And as I said, it just feels like everything's all over the place. But how important it is to look after yourself, because you are looking after someone else now and another human being, that priority has gone way higher than I'd say what it was before. It's just tougher to fit it in. So exercise really key. Diet, definitely. I've definitely, I mean, I do like to indulge, but I also know when I need to eat a bit healthier, and just basic stuff that actually is quite tough to keep up in this chapter, I think, as well, that I'm experiencing. And because of the juggle that I'm doing and things are so busy, it's so easy to default to, oh, let me just grab this, or let me just grab an on the go thing. And, you know, I'm lucky, I've got a great support network and I've got people around me that can help me, you know, stay on that track of health and fitness. And if I need some support, I've got that there, and that is key, because if I didn't, then I think this would be probably a different answer, that I am managing to squeeze it in. So that's the big thing. If I can keep up that exercise, and, you know, if I miss a week or I miss something of that, then I'm going to feel it. So yeah, that's where
You said it's basic stuff, and it is. Core needs are crucial, just as important as core values, in terms of understanding what they are. Firstly, a lot of people don't, and you already identified how much sleep you need, which is more than or different to what an average person might say that they need. And with the sleep, the exercise, the headspace, with the diet, they are so fundamental, but as you say, could easily go out the window, but it throws everything off balance.
Yeah, it does. And it is like that term, going back to basics, is what I keep reminding myself, that, you know, if I can just get up in the morning, if I've showered, if I've, you know, had breakfast, I'm winning. You know, that's a winning day. Where back in the day, before baby, I, you know, high achiever over here, boom, 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 you know, by 8 o'clock in the morning, what am I doing? And where's my to-do list? And da, da, da. So I've had to really almost manage my expectations of myself, of what is achievable and what do I need to function and to be able to do this. And that's been a big learning curve. You know, I can't physically do everything that I wanted to do in a day beforehand, nor do I necessarily want to, because I've got, you know, so much other stuff going on, and it's great. But that going back to basics, I just need to keep reminding myself that. And you're right, it sounds so simple, but actually it's not sometimes. And it will get easier. We're having this conversation early doors. I think this is a really good time to have this conversation, because it is so raw. This is like a great therapy session, Amy. I'm just offloading to you what's been happening. But yeah, it is exactly that. Health, well-being, exercise, all those things, just ticking those boxes is making a huge difference.
And you've spoken a lot today about personal development, and that you're also focused on the professional development, and your whole business is centered on that, helping others. You mentioned the motivation and purpose as being separate. Is your motivation more clear than your purpose?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd say so. I think so, because funnily enough, I remembered not that long ago, I was trying to find it before this conversation, but I wrote a mini biography. There was one day, quite a few years ago, I think it was about 6 or 7 years ago. I've been toying with this idea of, like, what's my purpose? Like, genuinely, if I go back to my early 20s, I did trampoline classes, I made macaroons, I started my own magazine, I did my own radio show, I toyed with so much stuff, just because I wanted to find something that set my world on fire. And I was like, right, once I find it, I'm going to go for it. And, you know, that's it. I've found my purpose and life is great and it's going to be amazing. And I feel like I've really had this journey of trying to find what my purpose is. And that sort of 6, 7 years ago, as I said, unfortunately, I couldn't find the document. I just remember sitting in my room, getting my laptop out, and I wrote non-stop 5 pages of A4, type. Didn't take me long at all, probably took me about half hour, 40 minutes. I just kept writing, and it was almost this monologue to myself of, what have I been doing so far? What have I done to try and find my purpose? How am I feeling right now? And it was at those early stages of starting my business, which is now sort of rebranded, but it was almost, I don't think I've landed on my purpose, but I found something that I'm good at. I found something that helps others. I found something that I enjoy. Is it that immediate spark that I thought I'd get once I found my purpose? No, but I think I'm still learning and I'm on that journey. Whereas motivation, there's it's a lot more tangible. I think, I'm motivated, and now I'm motivated for so much more, my son, and even that still feels so weird to say that. But you're motivated for something else, but also motivated to have this life of, hopefully, freedom, adventure, experience new things, and just be able to hopefully be as happy as you can be and doing something that you enjoy. And that motivation to keep learning, keep progressing, I feel is a lot easier and much more tangible than for me to find this purpose. Maybe I put too much emphasis on the word purpose, but I think I see people that have it, or they say they have it, my purpose is this, and they're very sure of themselves. And I'm always jealous. I was like, I wish I could say the same thing. I just don't think I've landed on it. But since writing that mini biography, I've almost become okay with that. It's okay that I haven't found it. It's okay that I haven't had this revelation, because, people might go through their whole life. I might go through my whole life on this journey, just experience so much stuff, having a great time with it, and hopefully doing some good for others as well. But doesn't mean it, I've failed in a way of not finding it. I just think I've probably over-egged what this purpose is and tried too hard to find it, that I'm just letting life take its course and see what happens, which feels like a much healthier approach than what I was doing before.
You're not alone. And so many people have this. You spoke about being jealous of other people who've got their very clear purpose. And the myth that I try to continue to dispel is that you don't find it. You create it, you build it, you evolve it, you nurture it, it evolves with you. As you change, it keeps changing. It is a lifelong piece of work. So the fact that you've explored, you've tried different things, you've looked at what's going on, there will be a theme throughout that connects all of them, because it's not an external thing, it's an internal thing. So it will be present in everything you do. And to be fair, adventure is the theme.
Yeah, 100%. And it's taken me, and even you asked me that question of what's the thread, is that realization of like, that is the thread. I've known that that's one of my core values. I've known that that's really important to me. And you can attach it to so much. I think the word adventure, it's huge. You can apply it to so many different things, but I think that's why it works for me, is like, you have these physical adventures where you go to new places, you visit new countries and all of that, but there's this life is an adventure in everything you do, and you're learning. There's that piece as well. So yeah, absolutely, that is the thread. And I love that approach to purpose, that you don't find it, it is that you create it, and everyone is still creating it. So there's not this end goal. The goal is, ta-da, it's ongoing. Love that.
Essentially, I mean, if you want to if I give back the words that you said that you want to give back to an extent and add value. So in terms of adding value through adventure, is that not what you're doing?
Yes. Love that. Love that tagline. Stealing that, Amy, for my tagline for what I do in my life. Yeah, 100%. Definitely, certainly with the DAT adventure stuff, because and I think people hear this word retreat and they automatically think, whether it's wellness and yoga and stretching, and, that's really assumptive. There's so many amazing other retreats out there, but there's almost this connotation of that. Whereas this is something slightly different, and it is about how can we help people to progress personally and professionally. So they could be a business owner that they want to, work on a specific goal to do with their business. It could be a professional working in a particular area who's got a personal goal they want to fulfill. So I'm that personal professional development side. My husband, Julian, is the personal trainer, fitness, health, and all of that jazz. So there's a definite correlation between what we do and that adding value for adventure. Yeah, that is what we do. I'd say that's what we're doing. And whether I can say I do that in my own business, yeah, to an extent. I think if I applied that, I love, you know me, Amy, I love a stage and a microphone. If I can add value to my audience through an adventure, and I do see that. I do see my events as taking the audience on an adventure and trying to piece the pieces of the puzzle together with all the speakers, and if it's a conference and things like that, there is an element of that. And even with the pitch and communication side, there's an adventure element that, you're coming on into adventure to develop your pitch, to get investment for your startup and whatever it is that I'm supporting people on. So I'd say that sums it up very nicely.
Yeah, job done.
Job done. This is worth coming onto the podcast for, wasn't it, Amy? It's delightful.
But it is in these moments of reflection when you're having a conversation and you don't even notice that you are articulating the very core of who you are. When you talk about purpose, you can't help but share what's right in your heart of you, and to be willing to explore, to be able to take what you've had as an idea into fruition, even if it's not the thing. That is part of the whole process, to create, to and be bold with the creation. Because every moment matters. Every moment is a creative moment in its essence. And whether it wasn't trampolining, it wasn't making macaroons, it wasn't the radio show or the magazine, but it could be in a different format at some point. All of those have added to the dimension of where you are now.
Oh, absolutely. And actually writing that piece, those years ago, and that's where I started seeing that thread. I know I always look back at my introduction, always says, back in the day, studied broadcast journalism, I worked in radio and television, and it was awesome. It just wasn't setting my world on fire. So and I'm glad I've had that. Maybe it's the confidence, maybe it's the risk taker in me to be able to recognize when I'm not doing something that's setting my world on fire, and I've experienced this and that was great, but it's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. So let me try something else. And my 20s was spent, my goodness, I think my mum said to me, like, what is going on? I can't keep up with you. What are you doing now? What's going on? Where are you going here? The career changes was huge. And actually, when I landed on my business and what I wanted to do, it definitely was almost this amalgamation of, well, what have I done so far? And using that background from broadcast journalism to events management to other things that I've sort of dabbled in, it has definitely had that thread through it. But I wouldn't be doing what I'd be doing now if I didn't have all those experiences. So I am fortunate I've had such a sporadic, God, if you see my CV, it's all over the place. But I think that's the beauty of it. And that's that dynamic, kind of excitement of, okay, well, what's next? What I'm doing now might not be what I'm doing for the next few years, let alone the rest of my life, but it's another step on that journey. And it's quite exciting to see actually where this could lead, and not put that pressure on what I was doing before, to be that control freak and to be that, I need to know where I'm going. It's now much more, and I've worked with coaches and mentors to help me through that, of just let go. Let's just see what happens. Carry on doing what you're doing. If you're enjoying it, if it's fulfilling you, great. You'll find something else that might come along and take you in a different direction, and that's okay. So, like a baby has taken me in a different direction, and that's okay. Definitely lots to come. But what I've gone through in my career so far, there's no regrets there. It's all just learning and building up to where I am at the moment.
Yeah, I love it. And the whole control element, it is worth just touching on, because I have a model for the purpose framework, and control is the first step. It's all about knowing what you can control, what you can't control, what to let go of, and leveraging your thoughts, your beliefs, your choices, your behavior and actions to empower you to live that life with purpose. And it really is a crucial element, which is why it's right at the beginning for me to sort of talk through the control element, because so often we find ourselves wrapped in other people's business or the world's business, and we can't make any changes there, and nobody's then focusing on our own life, right? It's really important to discern that difference. In terms of the first class communications, that's what it's called, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Again, there's travel element in that, right?
Yeah, and that was definitely on purpose. That was on purpose. There's that word. With the brand, I worked with an awesome branding sort of specialist, and last year, and the brief she gave me was create a Pinterest board just with stuff that resonates, stuff that you like, and things that you think are good, or fancy that, because I had no idea what I wanted my brand to be, no idea. But this brief was like, just focus on what you enjoy, what you like, what feels right. So I had planes, and I had a lot of sort of travel and sort of things peeking up in there. I also had like palm trees and plants and some natural stuff, and I don't know where all these color palettes came from, what I put together. But it's almost like I felt like I'd vomited all this random stuff up, giving it to her. She packaged it up, put it into this branding guidelines, and was like, what do you think of this? I was like, well, that's a good idea, isn't it? Because first class comms, I knew what the name was, and I knew there was that element, and it wasn't, and I was very specific that I don't want it to feel like, sometimes when you think of first class in travel, it's elitist and it's exclusive. For me, it was about everyone can be first class. Everyone can be their own version of being a first class communicator, but feeling first class when they pitch, when they present. It's more that feeling rather than the tangible, you're traveling in first class and it's amazing hierarchy. So that was great. And the branding, I've had loads of fun with it. There's chairs in there. There's lots of like the seat of the plane that you might have. There's lots of like plane tickets and travel stuff, all these little icons that I've got now with my branding, and it is fun, and it feels like it represents me much more. So that was definitely not a mistake. That was on purpose.
Yeah, I love that. And in terms of you use the word feeling a lot. Is that how you sense through the world?
I must do. I think if I've said that quite a lot. Yeah, I think there's so much to, and this hasn't been forever. I think this has been more recent, probably even more so now, actually becoming a mum as well. And what we said right at the beginning, you're tapping into how you feel and your emotions, and you're on sort of just high alert of how everything's coming together. But I do, if I feel excited, but also feel quite content, I know that I'm in a good place, if that makes sense. Like, I need to know that I'm feeling challenged and I'm being stretched, but I've also got this quiet contentment that it doesn't feel out of control. So there is quite a lot in terms of feeling your way into things, and how do I feel going up onto a stage? Is it, am I in the right mindset? Have I got that? Because then that comes across to my audience, and that comes across to clients when I work with them. So there is a lot around feeling. I don't think I've thought about it in a way of, that's how I navigate the world. But I definitely think there's an element of that based on, I guess, my feeling and actually what I've been saying, and how I do approach things.
So what's next? I mean, I know you've only just started the side hustle. I'm already moving you on.
Yeah, that's a big thing. So, because that's like the immediate next, I suppose. Very much, seeing how it goes. We've got just some great stuff coming out. We've got our UK, it's a Yorkshire Three Peaks that we're doing in June. We've got a Vancouver edition in October, which I love Canada. It's one of my favorite places in the world. So that's sort of the immediate next. And obviously navigating this motherhood and seeing this amazing human grow. I can't believe how quickly they grow. My goodness, they change all the time. So that for me is big. And then I do like to look ahead, but I don't like to look too far ahead. But I obviously always have ambitions and goals. Is definitely around my focus for my speaking. So I love doing the pitch and communication side. I love doing the event hosting. I do speak on a range of things around those areas, but for me, it's around influence. So I'm doing a lot more, I guess, research and a lot more planning on how people can be influential on their own terms. I think the word influencing others can be quite negative sometimes, that you're trying to influence someone to do something. But whenever you step up to speak or pitch or communicate, there is an element of, how do you come across and how do you influence your audience? How do you want them to feel? So that for me is quite a big chapter coming up. It's early days, but that's probably the next thing amongst all the other things that I'm doing. So we'll see how it comes to fruition. But that's a big thing, the influence being quite a big focus for me.
And do you think much about the forward influence that you're helping people with, what that then goes on to achieve?
I try to more. I don't think I did enough. And I don't, not in a, what's the word I'm looking for? not in a selfish way of recognition. I think recognition is
Mm.
important for everyone. I think it's great when you can have a client come back to you and years later and say, oh my goodness, like you helped me do this. On LinkedIn, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, someone put in, it was a past student that I used to work with. I run a startup program for a university on the side, which I love. And it's all about sparking their ideas and coming forward. And this one particular student from probably about 4 years ago, hadn't spoken to her for that amount of time, but just wrote on me on LinkedIn and said, if it wasn't for you in the program, I would not be where I am today. I would not have got this funding and I would not be opening this first shop that she's doing and all of that. And that is amazing. I think people underestimate needing to have that. I think there's so many we can say, oh, we don't need, we don't do it for recognition. And I don't do it for that. But that's a big motivator. That's a big, to be reminded that you are having an impact and you are adding value, then is that motivator to keep doing it and to keep trying to support other people and helping others. So I've kind of lost my train of thought there, Amy, of what you originally said, but
No,
maybe
it
that
was,
kind of answers the
yeah.
question.
It does. And it's heavily linked to purpose, because what you're doing in terms of the work that you are doing in different areas in the adventure, but also in the communications work that you're doing with people, and giving them the confidence to then go on to achieve their purpose. It's a ripple effect that's happening here. And it's a collaborative piece. It's helping unlock all these different doors. So the work that you're doing is of huge value. There comes that word again, because of what you do in your space then enables so many more people to achieve all of their purposes. So it is it's a bigger,
Yeah.
a bigger piece
Yeah.
that is of relevance. And as you were talking about earlier, the jigsaw pieces, all the different pieces of the puzzle come together. We're not meant to do things alone. So where you fit in and understanding where your piece is to unlock all these other elements for other people, that's part of it. That's a huge part of it.
And it is, I love the word huger, by the way. I think that should be a new word. It is huger. It's bigger than bigger. And I think stopping to recognize that, for so many people, to stop and recognize there is value that you're bringing. You're not just doing this because you enjoy it and you're quite good at it, and someone might hopefully find it useful. There's tangible evidence, and I do encourage others to look for that if they need that reminder sometimes when they're having a bad day. Or for me, I've got some thank you cards literally up on my shelf here, and you do have that reminder of there is something there that you are doing. We forget we forget that sometimes when you've got that lack of, maybe you're having a lapse in confidence or you're just having a bad day. That is really key. And it's lovely. It's lovely when you get that feedback. Amazing. And hopefully there's even more of that people don't tell you that's going on, that you obviously, they maybe just don't have the time, or you just don't think to thank people sometimes, even though they've had such a big impact.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And knowing that is the case, it is a huge driver for me, particularly as well. I do get a lot of feedback from people who listen into the episodes and say thank you for this particular episode. In fact, I had one recently where she said thank you for finding such fab guests, and it was such a nice thing to know that the work I'm doing is making a difference and instigating huge food for thought. But also, as I try and encourage the reflection with action. So it's not just thinking about things, it's actually then taking that next step into doing something about it. Jenna, thank you. What a wonderful conversation we've had. And I really look forward to hearing what comes next. How could people connect with you?
Oh, it's been awesome, Amy. Just to say as well, your podcast is brilliant. There's a reason why. You're on like 400 episodes now coming up.
Almost, yes. You're just after. So yes, we've hit the 400 milestone.
Can we just take a moment of just recognizing that, because it's massive, and that impact that your podcast has is huge. And I think for a lot of people, just plugging in and listening to that on a walk or going for that can make a massive difference. And thank you so much for having me. How can people get in touch? LinkedIn is my best friend, I would say. So LinkedIn is probably the easiest thing. And that's where you can see all the different jigsaw puzzle pieces that I do, including DAT adventures. That's our big one at the moment. So I'm posting all about that and hopefully encouraging people to go on their adventures with us as well.
Well, let's see what adventures occur. It's so exciting. Jenna, thank you again. Have you got some final words for the audience, please?
I would say, there's this term that you've used, that sentence of add value through adventure, is just stuck with me so much. And I'd say for any listeners, it is just embrace your adventure. Like I don't do it enough. I think I try, and I'm trying to live that as well. But life is an adventure, and sometimes you just need to really jump in and go for it, whatever it is you want to do. If that's going to give you a little confidence to take that next step to some adventure you want to have, then go for it. That's been the theme today for sure. So I'm going to end on that note.
How has this conversation had an impact on you? What value have you received from tuning in? What are your reflections with actions? Please take a moment to leave me an Apple Podcast or Spotify review sharing how Focus on Why has made a difference to you today. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. To keep it going, simply connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook or Twitter, or join the Focus on Why Facebook group. All the links are in the show notes. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.